tier list review. Wait, that's not right. Either way, we have a new patch for Pokemon Unite that brought some major balance changes to the game. A lot of Pokemon were buffed, a lot of Pokemon were nerfed, some Pokemon just kind of balanced and tuned in different ways. Then a lot of other Pokemon just not really touched because the game is actually really balanced. Outside of no Zapdos changes, a lot of really good things happened for Pokemon Unite, and now that a little bit of time has passed, we can try to figure out where the Pokemon are landing for the tier list, so you know what to do in your Pokemon Unite games. Depending if there's major mix-ups, if new tech is discovered, more things learned about the game, or if just Pokemon kind of float around a bit more over the next couple of days, might do another tier list next week, but seems like we're going to be doing this from balance patch to balance patch. And if you're enjoying these tier list updates from one of the best Pokemon Unite players, don't forget to leave a like, comment down below, and share this video with all your friends or on social media like Twitter and Facebook. So we're going to be doing things a little different since in the last video, I had the previous tier list and then I started shuffling things around to reflect what ended up happening in the game. Problem: 40% of the people that watched that video only saw the first frame and then left. And that was actually showing the outdated tier list because I was updating it throughout the video, and then people were getting mad at me for having outdated placements even though they didn't watch the video. So we're just going to have to build the tier list as we go since there's too many idiots out there. So here's how it goes. Alolan Ninetales didn't get touched, so it's still S tier. Slowbro didn't get touched, so it's still C tier. And these are the only S and C tier Pokemon on my list because of all of the other changes. So let's talk about Gengar. Gengar, still solid A tier, but it's not abusive S tier. And there's actually counterplay to this Pokemon, so Gengar is still good. It's still viable. It's also really good against Zapdos and Dreadnought because they can't cleanse or CC it or like really stop the combo or kill it off too much. So Gengar's still really good at taking camps and some of the very important objectives. Also in a bit more coordinated team play or being more ambushy and opportunistic on crowd control, it can still go in there, it can still get multiple hexes, and it still does a crazy amount of damage. It's just not free anymore, and also now there's more opportunity for counterplay by actually being able to crowd control it because the invulnerability frames were hit. Zeraora, A+ tier. So even though Zeraora got a buff on the Wild Charge, it did get a nerf on its Unite move, and that just means less burst. Like, now you actually have a chance to fight back when Zeraora has its Unite move, instead of it being pretty much a guaranteed team fight wipe when it goes Unite move, Discharge, and then just kind of like jumps around with charge on the rest of the other people, and then there's nothing you can do about it. So, did get tagged just a little bit. Now, there is incentive with the Wild Charge, and maybe Zeraora just goes right back up to S tier, depending on how Wild Charge goes, where it's like charge, Wild Charge, and then you just like two-shot people, and then you still have really strong on the Unite move. But since it did get tagged on one of its big like burst combos that really takes over team fights, gonna put it A+. We're going to see what happens with the Electric Kitty. So now we can talk about Venusaur. Venusaur is B tier now. It's not the worst character in the game anymore. It's definitely useful with that Unite move, bringing a lot more damage and steal potential on big objectives. Also, it just like does a bit more overall, which is pretty nice. But we're also comparing this to the rest of the cast where Absol and Talonflame got buffed, and also Lucario is still ridiculous, and other Pokemon are pretty crazy too. So you can still find more impactful Pokemon, but now Venusaur isn't a complete troll-free game, loss or win, depending on if it's on your team or your opponent's team. Also, the pre-evolutions are still pretty weak in lane. I feel like just some base stat buffs from level 1 could really bring Venusaur into like B+ tier or competitive carry tier. As it stands right now, there's still a lot of other Pokemon, and also other Pokemon getting buffs like Charizard. So if it wasn't for the Muscle Band bug fix, Charizard A tier, easy. But now it's at least B+ tier. It's going to be more useful sooner, and it's going to have more damage overall, and it can just kind of not be something you can ignore, which is a good thing. Like, pretty much you could just ignore Charizard in the past. Unless it was using its Unite move with Energy Amplifier and Scope Lens and just kind of like melting you with auto attacks, yeah, like Charizard practically didn't exist, and it was also just kind of weak in other skirmishes and pushes and awkward team fights and laning and stuff. But now they got a buff to pretty much like all of its useful abilities. You know, you have more poke, you have more burn damage, Fire Punch also getting a nice upgrade. So that's like the cool thing, like Flamethrower and Fire Punch, those are in the same move bracket. So it's stronger no matter what you pick now, no matter what your playstyle is. Because of that, I feel like it's been elevated just enough to like viable, or like more viable B+ tier. We're gonna see how it goes, but yeah, like in the initial impressions, stronger. There's just more insane Pokemon out there, and that's what the A tier is reserved for. A+ tier is reserved for. Mr. Mime, still A tier, especially as more and more people figure out what's going on. I'm thinking that guard swap is the best, because I played with Mr. Mime for a couple of hours, and yeah, like, you just being able to choose one person and then stunning them and doing like half of their health on an insane confusion, that's Mr. Mime. So it can really lock people down, and then you just kind of get to guard swap them again, and you can slow them down, and you can do all kinds of crazy things. So Mr. Mime's ability to just kind of get in there and like ruin one person's day, and then Unite move, which is one of, if not the strongest Unite move in the game. You can just do that, shut down the rest of the team fight. And also, like, if you guard swap someone, confuse them, then Unite move, that person's gone. So it's a 4v5, and the other 4 people are stunned. Mr. Mime is really strong, and that's going to be a lot more compelling with the nerf to Eldegoss, and also Eldegoss not being as like healing and shielding focused, so it's not like a must pick in certain team compositions anymore. Now, Barrier Mr. Mime still kind of viable, but I feel like it's just hard to set up, and it feels really clunky to use even when being played at like a high level. Maybe when like mobile comes out and people can do more accurate like touchscreen inputs with it, we'll see how that ends up playing out. But yeah, Mr. Mime's ridiculous, and people still need to understand that Mr. Mime is ridiculous, and probably like the only other S tier character in the hands of those wacky Mr. Mime mains. As it stands right now, it's A tier. You can learn it, you can start becoming S tier with it, or you can just kind of pick it and just play to lock out one person from the game and then just destroy with it. Then we can talk about Snorlax. Nothing happened to Snorlax, still A+ tier, still the best defender in the game. If you're running Flail, you're trolling, that's griefing, it's a free loss if you pick that, it doesn't do anything. Heavy Slam, just way too powerful. Same thing for Yawn, never pick Yawn. Block is always the way to go, especially because you can just choose someone, they don't get to play Pokemon, you can either bully them into a wall, you can keep people off Zapdos a lot better, you just get to do whatever you want. And then you also have the really good secures in lane. People getting a lot more aggressive with Snorlax is also kind of getting problematic, where it's like, yeah, they just walk up and they can stun secure the middle camp, the Audino or the Corphish, and that's kind of it. And they can also fight pretty hard because the attack is pretty high for a tanky Pokemon. So Snorlax is just crazy. It was crazy, it's still crazy, and the better you get with it, the better you're going to be able to support your team with it. So there we go. Gardevoir, still another A tier Pokemon. Maybe flown up to A+ tier as people get better with the ability cast. Like, I've seen Gardevoir completely fall flat when they miss. I've seen Gardevoir take over the team fights when they land. And the difference between Future Sight and Psyshock really isn't that much. Like, yeah, landing a Future Sight and then getting the reset, well, that's going to be when you upgrade, which can take some time to get online, because your early game is pretty weak. If you get delayed at all into your Kirlia evolution or your Gardevoir evolution or your move upgrades, you're just going to be behind, and you can still be impactful, which is pretty good, but it's really hard to come back. Or if like you lose a Dreadnought for some reason, maybe because of you, maybe because of the team fight, it's just, yeah, it's kind of rough. But if you get ahead, then you can really do some crazy things. But even if ahead, if you don't get the reset, if you don't land at least 2 Psyshocks on multiple opponents in like a clustered fight, then you can fall flat. So like Gardevoir, when played perfectly, if you're landing all of your abilities, if you're always doing everything right and you're just destroying people, especially because like the stun on Moonblast is also pretty crazy, S tier. Problem is, pretty much impossible to do that. Even like for the best Gardevoir players. You will miss, and then you're super squishy and you're super vulnerable. The Unite move though, pretty crazy, but also hard to land, but also more like predictive. So it's like, yeah, it's like A something. It's a little better than A, but not quite A+. Has some consistency issues, but still really strong. Like, just a good new attacker to be thrown into the game. So we got that. Absol, also going to bump him up to A tier from B+ tier in the last tier list. It got a damage buff. It gets to do a bit more. But also, since like a lot of people were picking Psycho Cut, we still gonna see that. Like, Psycho Cut's still viable. They just added 300 damage to Sucker Punch. So a bit more of a chunk that gets happening. Also, Pursuit was the always take. So if people go to Night Slash for damage, there's less mobility, but still a lot of damage. Also helps Absol just kind of like clear, get objectives, do things like that. So it's just a bit better overall, but it wasn't like crazy because of what Gengar and Zeraora were doing. But now it's a more viable pick. You're going to see a lot more of it. And it either just like RNG crits and wins the entire fight or destroys you in a duel or something. It doesn't get enough crits and then it falls flat, but it's still just a good assassin overall. Absol's weird. Now it's back to A tier. When it comes to Garchomp, nothing's changed. Now that Gengar and Zeraora have been knocked down, and also some other Pokemon are coming up in priority, like, if Venusaur's actually secretly B+ tier, Garchomp's just better, because now Garchomp gets to get onto Venusaur and destroy it. So any Pokemon that are now, like, more threatening, Garchomp is just stronger against, but it didn't get any changes. So I think, like, yeah, now that people are going to be picking up Garchomp, they're just going to understand this character has always been really strong. So, he's just good. Like, Garchomp's just going to be chilling here in A tier. Definitely good pick. Takes a while to get online, but I don't think it needs a buff or a nerf or anything like that. Like, there you go. Garchomp is just solid. Lucario. Still putting Lucario at A+ tier, even with the Power Up Punch nerf. That was a bug fix because Power Up Punch was overperforming, but it was a bug. The thing is, Power Up Punch was never the best moveset. Once you understand the extreme speed resets, that is the better move. And Bone Rush also got bug fixed where it does more damage at the end, but I think Bone Rush is a lot more impactful on the extreme speed combo, so that also like patches in the damage a bit more from Power Up Punch. Either way, Lucario players, they just get crazier with him every day. Now there's less competition, less nuke potential from Gengar and Zeraora, so Lucario, yeah, just still feeling good. Still an A+ tier pick. Next up, we have Crustal. If you watch my video from yesterday, Scopeland's crits on X-Scissor, so X-Scissor Shell Smash is what you should always be taking. And you should never pick Rock Tomb. Ever. Because you become useless for your team. There's so much mobility that people can just eject button over the wall. They can dash through the wall. The wall does nothing. You know what makes you a better wall? If you Shell Smash, you run through them, get behind them, and then X-Scissor them into your team. Same thing for Stealth Rock. If you're picking Stealth Rock, that's a free loss. That's a throw. There's no reason anyone should think Stealth Rock is viable for any reason when you have a long displacement ability like the X-Scissor that still does an insane amount of damage and it can crit. So if you're running Scopelands, you're actually able to capture some of the absurdity, the unacceptable brokenness that was Crustal in the beta. Those stats have been brought in line, but if you're playing just like aggro, Shell Smash, X-Scissor, Crustal, there's nothing you can't do once you hit level 6, and then you're power spiking through the mid game and you're able to carry that. You do drop off kind of late, and that's my videos kind of showed. I'm going to be doing some more Crustal gameplay, but yeah, like, you just get to shut out people. They don't get to do anything. They don't get to play the game. Also, X-Scissor counters mobility moves because it's such a ridiculous displacement. It's so unfair. And that's why you want the Shell Smash, because Shell Smash doesn't even make you all that more vulnerable. It doesn't cut your defenses enough, and as we saw, like, 400 defense is only 20% damage reduction, so if you're losing even a lot of that, you're only taking like 10% more damage, but you're tank, so you have a lot of base hit points and stuff. And even then, like, you have your passive, which makes you even tankier as you get low health. So pretty much you Shell Smash, and you get so fast, you're allowed to do whatever you want. So you can run into someone, and then you can just become a wall of CC with X-Scissor. You crit them, and there goes half their health off of one ability. You almost one-shot them, and then your night move is ridiculous. Crustal's your night move is absurd. Like, Crustal's just an absurd character, and now that people are playing him, like, from the beta, and really getting into this character, yeah, I'm gonna put him at A+ now. And then we have Greninja. So in my last tier list, Greninja was B+, but I'm going to put it in A now because a lot of other crazy overperforming Pokemon have been brought in line. And also, I started picking up Greninja and I found the secret to playing that Pokemon. So if you want to learn the secret, you can find that video in my playlist, maybe the description if I specifically remember to put it in there. But Greninja, it's just good. And now that Cinderace is A+ tier instead of S tier, you actually have like a choice between 80 carry Pokemon instead of only always going Cinderace. And then Greninja was like good, but just didn't perform as well. And then also, why do that when you can just go Cinderace Zeraora or Cinderace Gengar and then build a composition around that and just have way too much damage? Also, the Eldegoss nerfs really help out Greninja because you're good DPS, but you're not burst. You just want to be putting out hits throughout the entire fight, and then you finally get in there, but Eldegoss makes it to where it's harder for you to get surf resets, it's harder for you to finish off opponents, it's hard for you to just be as useful. So a lot of the other, like, kind of the game changing around Greninja, making it more useful as an AD carry, and also more viable since Cinderace isn't just the best pick anymore. So we got that going on. Talonflame. So Talonflame was at C tier. I kind of want to say B tier still, because it clears faster and it's slightly more useful, but okay, Absol just got buffed, Zeraora is still really strong, Gengar is still really strong. So I mean, like, there's more going on here. Team fights are still really strong as well. The problem is, the game still revolves around Dreadnought team fights and Zapdos secures, and until Zapdos loses priority, the backdooring and hypermobility potential of Talonflame is not going to be that useful. Because, like, oh cool, Talonflame scores 100 points. Well, your team lost Zapdos and now you lose 400 points. So, like, that just doesn't work. And Talonflame's still not a great team fighter. It gets to come in and contribute slightly more burst, but then it can just get blown up. Or, like, it gets in there, it can use its Unite move, and then it creates a bit more disruption, so it's like, it's more useful. But overall, faster jungle clear, better ganks, more damage in team fights, it's just better now, but it's still a bit out of place. Also, other Pokemon kind of getting buffs and getting other things going on with it. Still think Lucario is ridiculous, and since we're not talking about, like, hyper mobility, speedster, backdooring, or split pushing, like, yeah, Lucario just does that better. Garchomp just does that better. And Garchomp still takes a while to come online, like Talonflame, so yeah, maybe he's B+, but as it stands right now, haven't really felt too much from the bird. So, Eldegoss was B+ tier in my last tier list. I'm just going to keep him there. Like, yeah, big nerfs, really feeling it, really hurt, but people were always, like, overvaluing it on the A tier, even S tier, and, like, team compositions and 5v5 and stuff has gone down. Mr. Mime's still crazy, Wigglytuff, now definitely an A tier Pokemon. So, yeah, it's like, fine, we'll just keep him here. Eldegoss, viable, useful, pretty crazy. Can still get punted, though. Like, a behind Eldegoss doesn't do much of anything, even in coordinated play. Also, Eldegoss is more getting carried by the efficiency of Buddy Barrier, so we're going to see what happens with, like, a first item patch or something. But now it's getting less healing, less durability, less shielding because of that cooldown increase. So, yeah, it's, like, fine. Eldegoss is just solid. It's solid because it's the only Pokemon that does this role right now. Maybe when Blissey is introduced, it, like, just kicks Eldegoss into B tier, because then it's like an A+ or S tier healer or something. So we're gonna see what happens there. But yeah, Eldegoss doesn't change, viable, does its thing. I still think people are overvaluing it, but that's pretty cool. And now we get to talk about my boy, my main, Cramorant, which I'm keeping an A+ tier despite the nerf. Because when you think about it, with other Pokemon coming down and other, like, shifts happening through the tier list, there's always going to be an S tier. There's always going to be something insane. And if Cramorant didn't get nerfed, it's going right to S tier. But the Whirlpool nerf also isn't that insane, because Surf Hurricane, that's where you scale. That's where you're insane into the mid to late game. And also even, like, kind of early game, because it comes online at level 6. But what happens is, without that, like, Whirlpool damage, you're probably not getting as many camp secures, even when playing perfectly, even when playing at a high level. Also, it opens up to some more counterplay. So I feel like Cramorant is always going to be a half level behind where it was on average, which isn't too insane. And also, like, that becomes less and less. Like, you're going to be level 11 or level 10 regardless of the Whirlpool nerf. But in that early game, alright, you're going to be level 6.5 instead of level 7, or level 5.5 instead of level 6 at certain power spikes in certain times. So it might mess things up since you aren't going to be able to steal as many camps. You might get some more camps stolen. You're not going to be able to secure Vespiquen, Audino, the middle Corphish every single time. So that's why I mean, it's like, yeah, you're just slightly behind a bit, but also still insane. And even, like, if this didn't get nerfed, I think, like, Cramorant's just always A+ here, because, like, the great late game carry potential of this Pokemon off its Unite move, and then just the team fight potential where it's like Hurricane knock up 2 people, Surf pull someone in, that's still an insane amount of damage, kite around, auto attacks, and then you get another ability rotation. Like, yeah, Cramorant is just nuts. And more people are picking up Cramorant. More people are discovering this, I'm guessing through my gameplay, which is pretty cool. But yeah, secret's out, Whirlpool, a little oppressive in all levels of play. Just, like, as you get more skilled, you get to master it more. It's definitely a pub stomper, so you don't get, like, free wins or free lanes in some situations. Even in, like, ultra or master rank when you're just going up against like people that are kind of bad at laning. So pretty much just solid. A+. Cool. Okay, that leaves us with 2 more until we figure out what's happening with some of these other Pokemon. Machamp keeping it at A tier, much like Garchomp. Maybe overperforming compared to Garchomp, or like just performing a little bit better than Garchomp. Also, this isn't necessarily in any order, so I'm not like, oh, this is the best A tier or whatever, but I will put like Machamp ahead of Garchomp, similar to the last tier list. They have effectively the same role. They pop off in a Unite move, they 3v1, they do crazy things. But once like the secret got out on Machamp that is actually really strong, that level 5 is just ridiculous on the submission. You get to do more earlier with Machamp, and you're still really crazy in the mid to late game. I think Garchomp has like better late game carry potential, but since you're just ahead and stronger as Machamp. I've also seen some people that are like, yo, Machamp is A+ tier, yo, it's S tier, I need to get nerfed way harder, this thing's too insane. As you get into like more skilled play, you can read Machamp, you can understand what it wants to do, and you can like kite away from it better, you can focus a little bit more, you can like reduce its impactfulness. Like, yeah, it is unstoppable in its Unite move, not much you can do about it. But you can still play better around Machamp, and that's going to make it not as insane now that people are understanding what Machamp wants to do. Cross Chop getting nerfed. I don't think Cross Chop was what makes Machamp broken or super strong or anything, so I don't think that knocks it down at all. Like Machamp, it's balanced. Like I guess the very little touch of a nerf that it got, and like people could still choose close combat and still be strong anyways, and close combat got buffed. So like all the other Pokemon kind of getting nerfs and some other buffs, like Machamp is now just staying in line. So it's still a strong pick, and then once you understand like how to abuse lane with Machop or submission or something like that, like yeah, you just get better on it in Machamp. Very, very strong, very rewarding. Next up we have Pikachu. Pikachu is going to be moving up from B tier to B+ tier. That's because of everything else going on. Venusaur got bumped up, Talonflame got bumped up, Wigglytuff, Charizard, all these other Pokemon getting bumped up means like Pikachu doesn't feel right at B tier here, because like no, it's definitely better than Venusaur. But also, and maybe it's because I played the Pokemon Unite beta, so I know what S tier Pikachu looks like, and it got nerfed from the beta to release, so I might just be like overvaluing that nerf compared to like where Pikachu was. But the thing is, Pikachu is just heavily outclassed by Ninetales in lane, in team fights, even in damage, also in CC. Pikachu has range, but that range doesn't really mean too much with like the rest of the cast doing crazy things. Like Machamp is just going to run into Pikachu and one-shot it. Gengar still has crazy potential against Pikachu, same thing for Lucario. Crustal is also insane, so it's like, yeah, Pikachu is just good damage at range, fills a role, excellent artillery mage, really cool to have. Now that Gardevoir's in, also like Gardevoir still playing pretty safe. It's like Pikachu with more damage but less CC, and turns out that just succeeds a lot better. Pikachu, I think in the next patch he's going to get a touch of a buff and really come back to light. Like a touch of a buff could put it into A+ tier, and I'm down with that. And I think that's going to be it. So really, everyone feeling viable, with most of the cast just feeling strong and satisfying and impactful, and I really like this. I keep saying this, but I hate reverse power creep metas like what we saw in League of Legends. I miss the old days, Season 2 League of Legends, where everything was absurd, was fun. And that's the cool thing about Pokemon Unite. Everything is absurd, which makes it even more fun. Venusaur, I think, could... I don't even know, because like I don't want to see Venusaur get buffed and then like be A+ tier, S tier. Like I don't like that. I think it fills a role. I think it's good. At least it's pickable now. Same thing for Talonflame. Other Pokemon, strong, useful. Everyone else, like yeah, you pick a main from A tier above, and there's definitely something for you. Even if like Charizard's your favorite Pokemon, go learn like Wigglytuff or something, or learn Greninja, and then you're gonna have a blast anyway. And then if you really need to bust out the Charizard, you can, and you're still gonna be able to win a fight with it. Maybe like not completely take over the game, but maybe it could turn into a reason why you won. If you just like get the right Unite move at Zapdos, melt everyone, open it up for the rest of your team, boom, good to go. So there are some like compositions and team fight things and teammate diffs that can make the difference on some of these Pokemon. Like maybe that's it. Maybe that's what this tier list actually means. And it took a couple of weeks to figure it out. This is just like difference offsetting. Where it's like, yeah, Charizard on a good team is still really strong. But even if you have like 1 or 2 bad teammates, these Pokemon are just going to succeed regardless. And these Pokemon are usually the bad teammates that make it very bad, very underwhelming. Only the most useless Pokemon right now is going to be Slowbro. Very slow to start in the lane, very bad for laning, Sure, it disrupts with Surf and Telekinesis, but I mean, like, overall, you could just ignore Slowbro when everyone else in the game is just being ridiculous. Also, when it comes to Wigglytuff is just ridiculously tanky right now, and its damage doesn't fall off, so it has a very strong lane. Like, that pound into early double slap or rollout upgrade, like, you can take over lanes with the Wigglytuff, but Slowbro is just kind of like getting kicked around the entire time. And then you set up like a rollout and a choke point, and you just like bounce between two walls, like, yeah, you're effectively being a better Slowbro Surf with more damage, or you effectively have a Telekinesis with how long they're locked out, and the Unite moves, they serve different purposes, but yeah, Wigglytuff is like crazy now, and that's pretty cool. So even less reason to pick Slowbro, and even though people think it's a higher tier, it didn't get buffed, didn't get nerfed, so devs think it's in a good spot. And I'm okay with it staying underperforming, because as long as my team doesn't pick it, and the enemy team picks it because they think it's good, because some fraudulent content creator said it's good, more wins for me, I guess. And I think that's going to be it, so hope you guys enjoy the video, hope you all have a nice day, thank you very much for watching.